All right, in case you missed it last night, we had some Major League Baseball, not much of a game. Had some NFL, probably not much of a game either, but let's go through it here. First of all, the Cincinnati Bengals, late last night on Sunday Night Football, dismantled the New York Giants. Best defensive performance for the Bengals all season long. There's no question about that. They've been the worst defense in the NFL, but they finally stepped up and did a good job. They didn't really need to do much. The Giants only mustered 7 points in the game last night with the Bengals picking up the win. So Cincinnati kind of stays in the hunt. Giants, of course, taking a step back. Let's hear from Zach Taylor, the head coach, who, like I just said, is giving his defense a lot of credit.
You know, our defense kept us in it. Our offense was a little sloppy at times tonight. But there in the fourth quarter when we needed it, everyone just stepped up. And everyone did their job. Everybody finished. I thought special teams put us in some really good positions with some of those punts. You know, and then defensively, obviously, getting the ball back and offense finished it with a touchdown. So no better way to do it. Start building on that, and hopefully we can string some wins together. I think you can name a lot of people on that defense that really stepped up. You know, three turnovers on downs, the turnover, and just a lot of big plays, you know, and they got some, and that's kind of how their offense operates. They got a good, efficient operation. I think their quarterback does a really good job. But our defense stepped up the right times and held into, 7 points, I think it was? Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Giants situation just continues to get worse. Of course, they were playing without Malik Neighbors, who may play this week, but of course has missed the last 10 or so days due to a concussion. So up against it was, of course, Brian Daboll with his team last night. But after the game, not a lot to smile about when you only put up a 7 against the Bengals.
All right, tough loss. Thought our defense played very good football. Missed a quarterback run early on a rush lane, but they played winning football. To hold those receivers to what we held them to the pass game. I think Burrow had about 50 yards rushing, but hats off to the way the defense played. Missed 2 opportunities in the kicking game, and then didn't score enough points offensively. And that starts with me. And it's hard to win games when you score 7 points, and that's the reality of it. That's probably a number of things, Dan. I'll go back and watch the tape. I thought we had some opportunities, throughout the game. Whether it be run, whether it be pass. We turned the ball over down there, on that drive, which was a good drive, and to come away with no points. And then I think 5 of 15, somewhere around there. Now we were aggressive on 4th down, as I thought we needed to be against this offense, but just couldn't generate any explosive plays. We did. We had the penalty. And then other than that, we didn't hit many explosive plays.
Giants offense just ugly, in a word. And it has been like that for the majority of the season, although they did play well against Seattle a couple of weeks ago. All right, last night's game, open and shut case, really, when it comes to National League Championship Series Game 1. They'll play Game 2 today. Mets are going to have to score some runs eventually. But again, are the Dodgers ever going to give up a run? They've now had 33 straight scoreless innings. And folks, that's not a typo. It was 9-0 last night if you didn't catch the game yesterday. So the Dodgers take a 1-0 lead in the best-of-7 series. Kind of feeling like the Mets may need to win one game here in L.A. to stay in this thing, because the Dodgers right now are playing their best baseball of the season at the right time. All right, let's go back to the NFL here just for a minute. Jacksonville was just one of the worst performances you could possibly see individually from a lot of different players on Jacksonville, dropping the ball, fumbling the ball, all Sunday morning long in London. And now they've lost Travis Etienne Jr., their starting running back, although it looked like he was getting outplayed by their backup, Tank Bigsby. Right now, it looks like Etienne is out for at least 1 week, maybe 2. They're saying week to week. The Jaguars are headed nowhere, staying in London for this week's game against the Patriots. And also, earlier this morning, a report from ESPN coming out that Hassan Reddick, the holding out player for the New York Jets, although he's never played a game for them, has switched agents. His agent is now Drew Rosenhaus, and he'd like to get a deal done either with the Jets or somewhere else. Yesterday in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys are the gift that keeps on giving in terms of blowouts. When they lose, it's pretty ugly, and it was again yesterday. Lions laughing their way through a 47-9 victory over the Dallas Cowboys. They were 3-point favorites in that one. The Cowboys haven't won a game at home this season. In case you missed it yesterday, Aiden Hutchinson had a very serious leg injury that is going to cost him the season. He already had surgery last night, and of course, he's one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Best defensive player on the Lions, for sure. Great game between the Ravens and Commanders yesterday, coming all the way down to the wire. Ravens win 30-23. Lamar Jackson threw for 323 yards. Jaden Daniels had a nice game as well. Needless to say, Ravens, since starting off 0-2, they have won 4 straight games. And also the Eagles needed to go all the way to the end against the Cleveland Browns. They win 20-16. Cleveland has now lost 4 games in a row. And I think I saw a stat that says they're the first team in NFL history to play 6 games and not score 18 points the first 6 weeks of the season. That's kind of crazy. Tampa Bay's offense explodes. They go to New Orleans. They get 51 points. They ran for over 200 yards. They win 51-27. Remember a few weeks ago when the Saints were 2-0? And everyone was saying, yeah, they're legit. They've lost 4 games since then. And Tampa Bay has looked a lot better. By the way, that was probably the most impressive offensive performance for Tampa Bay in years, maybe even going back to before Tom Brady at quarterback. All right, interesting scenario playing out yesterday between the Chargers and Broncos. Not the game, because the Chargers dominated the Broncos pretty much start to finish. But their head coach, Jim Harbaugh, exited the game with heart flutters, is what they're calling it. But he returned to the sideline. The Chargers beat the Broncos by a final of 20-16, but it really wasn't that close. Chargers were 2.5. Some places they were 3-point favorites. But Harbaugh, pretty cheeky after the game, saying that he had to go into the medical tent, but it was much ado about nothing.
Yeah, everything turned out to be okay. I deal with this, I guess, minor, it's called atrial flutter, and I got into an episode today with it, and then doctors checked me out, and it got back into sinus rhythm, normal rhythm, so came back. Yeah, I've had a couple of ablations, one in 1999 and one in 2012. And I always remember the one in 2012 because it was during the Monday night game, Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers versus the Chicago Bears, and Colin had a great night that night. And yeah, I knew I was in it during the game, and after the game, got checked out and ended up having to have an ablation for that one because it didn't go back into rhythm. But 2-0 with in arrhythmias.
Not something to be excited about, I would not think. All right, Packers dominated the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. Jordan Love threw 4 touchdown passes again. Green Bay wins 34-13. The Atlanta Falcons just handed the ball off to Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson constantly, over 200 yards on the ground. They beat Carolina final 38-20. And also the Houston Texans went up very big on New England. Patriots made a lot of mistakes in this game, fumbles, interceptions, etc. Although Drake May did make his debut and throw 3 touchdown passes, but relatively speaking, game was not close. 41-21, the Houston Texans finally starting to play some good football. All right, new AP college football poll is out. Number 1 team in the country, not a surprise, it's Texas. So guess who's in at number 2? Of course, it's got to be Oregon after their win against Ohio State on Saturday night. Penn State's 3, Ohio State barely falls to 4. Georgia went to 5. By the way, Army undefeated, Navy undefeated, both ranked in the top 25. Meanwhile, Texas, Oklahoma, Red River rivalry goes to Oklahoma 34-3. Crazy game Saturday night. We don't have enough time to get into it, but Oregon ended up beating Ohio State. LSU beat Ole Miss in overtime, and Alabama barely beat South Carolina. National League Championship Series Game 2 is coming up tonight with the Dodgers minus 142 on the money line. And, of course, ALCS Game 1 is this evening between the Yankees and the Guardians.